I think it's going to happen someday. I think Australia is going to lose its freedom. Now, I do think, for example, that my theory indicates that China will make a deal with the West and attack Russia's rear in order to defeat Russia. China and Russia are only temporary allies. They're co-predators, along with the Anglo-American establishment to try to, each of these three predator centers wants to win over the world. And I think China will help the West take Russia down after they start this war. And in doing so, they'll give back eventually Japan, Australia, and New Zealand, but it won't be until after a lot of damage is done during an occupation.
All right, I want to continue going through this, but the book that's available again at Infowars.com, it's essential reading for everybody out there, Strategic Relocation, North America, 3rd edition. But just a brief synopsis, and I know I'm springing this on you, Joel, but I know you can answer it from your perspective. The Anglo-American, global, U.S., England, European elite, their end-game goal, if they had total control, what would they do? Versus the Russians and the Chinese. Because I know the Russians are incredibly corrupt, have their own problems. The communist Chinese, very corrupt. But I see the communist Chinese have made deals with the West on eugenics, population. I see the West building them up. So I do see that backdoor deal between the Chi-Coms and the Anglo-Americans. But when I see the Anglo-American group, they want the eugenics. They want the world government. They've got the big plans. And of the three groups, I see them in the final equation as the most wicked. But I see the Russians also kind of following originally the eugenics model. So from my research, people have to understand, why not just surrender to the New World Order, let them have world government so this won't happen. They want the world government to reduce population. They want it to carry out the next phase. So if they ever got it, then we're even in more trouble. I mean, these are just control freaks to the power of infinity. I know that's a long, rambling analysis, but your take on the mindset of these three elites, how they interchange.
Well, ultimately, and I don't talk about this much in my books, but there's only one thing to explain what I call the generational effect in the Anglo-American establishment. If it were like Stalin, if it were like Hitler, who were individual power men, power hungry, it would die out after they die out. But it doesn't in the Anglo-American establishment. It goes from one leader after another, and actually it's an oligarchy of several leaders who keep themselves hidden behind the scenes. But this has a generational effect that has been going on for centuries, and that's not typical of a single leader that keeps moving on. And I have to owe that to what I think is a satanic dark side connection, ultimately, that gives guidance